also busted out the Christmas music on the way over. It's cold now. It's like 40 degrees outside. So
it's Christmas. Like
it is Christmas.
Skip Thanksgiving and just get to Christmas.
Oh well, I mean, we need some Christmas. We need like 6 weeks of Christmas this year. Is what I told the girls. So
yeah, that'd be good.
So flannel's out. It's cold outside, and Christmas music is on the radio.
Isn't that the tagline? Snow's out, flannel's out. Is that
that's how it goes. Snow's out, flannel's out. Yeah. 100% how it goes. So let the hating begin for all the people who want to hate on Christmas.
Hey, at him. Just go ahead and at him.
Just let it
fly.
What time is it? You know, it's noon here in about 4 seconds. So, Amy's in the background producing us right now going, I think this means, oh, she's writing on the board.
We're live, right?
You could just say it.
Be cool?
Be cool? I don't know. I have no idea what she's trying to write. Can't read from here.
Out. Can't even. Could you try different ink?
Literally can't read it.
Spread out. We need to spread out.
Is it a better shot? We spread out? This is where I always am. That's
yeah, you have a lot of room.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
On the shot. It's a wide shot because we're using your phone today, so
right.
You can scoot your chairs a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah, we're live.
Cool.
Yeah, we're good. Listen, we just, we started.
Yeah, that's okay.
We're at the table, so welcome to Table Talk. We have a guest today. My name is Michael Scott, and this is
Brian Swanson. I'm over from the Lee Summit campus of Woods Chapel, and Mike invited me because Allison's out today, and so I'm super excited. Hopefully, I can get famous out of this. This is how you guys, your claim to fame, right?
Yeah. This is definitely.
Awesome.
I wasn't going to ruin the surprise that you weren't Allison. I was just going to tell them that Allison grew a beard and dyed her hair red and cut it off. Well, and so,
you've got some smart viewers.
Well, I think they know what's going on. They're woke. Yeah, I just said woke. I shouldn't have done that.
That's all right.
It happens.
I'll take an awkward drink.
So, fly the W.
That's right. Oh, yeah. Hey.
Brian is a Cubs fan, so all you faithful Royals fans out there.
Now they're going to come at me.
Well, we have a common enemy, though.
Yes.
The Cardinals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tua. No, I do. I'm a Cubs fan. I do love baseball, though. So I love watching and the competition. What kind of gets me is when people start taking it personally and just start digging, and that's rough.
See, that's not been my experience with people in general. They don't usually take stuff like baseball or politics personal. It usually just rolls right off the bat.
I know, you think I'm probably just writing a non-fiction book, or a fiction book. I get those mixed up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, it's more fun when you just get to talk about like the game instead of bringing up history. And I think Royals fans and Cubs fans actually get along because we just don't win very much. It just doesn't happen.
It's true.
Other than recently, you know what I mean? And so that's why we've kind of like a kinship.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what I heard you say was, don't hate the player, hate the game. Or no, you said don't hate the game, hate the play. I don't know what you were saying.
Hate the fans?
No,
yeah. I didn't say that either. Oof.
Well, thank you for joining us for Table Talk today. This week, we're talking about the table. Because we're talking about reclaiming the table and how we've lost the art of sitting down and having conversation. We've lost the art. We just lost the practice. That's a better term.
Yeah.
The practice of even sitting down and having a meal with our families and in our offices. And so this week, of course, I gave a sermon about this if you go to our church. I gave a sermon about this, how we can be intentional at the office because life happens around tables. If you're a Christian, my faith is all tied to tables. As Jesus chose to spend most of his time around tables. Yeah. And, of course, the table is just a representation of an altar. So in faith, in ancient faith practices, an altar was very important. And really, the table is the mutation, the evolution of an altar. And so an altar is where you made sacrifices, right? So the table is a place, I think, historically that we should talk about sacrifice, make sacrifice. It's an
Yeah.
equalizer. Your thoughts on that? Because you preached on this as well.
I did, yes. And one of the things that I've kind of been realizing as I've been preparing for these messages, that sort of thing, is now our tables are car dashboards. You know, the
Ooh.
thing that comes down in the back seat where you can put your fast food.
Yeah.
And we've lost the art of practicing being with one another at the table, like you said, Mike. I think that, you mentioned how the altar kind of morphed and changed, and now it sparked a thought that what if we need to look at sitting down around the table with one another is a sacrifice of time. It's a
Ooh.
practice of
Yeah.
being with one another that we've really lost. We don't do that as much. I think the pandemic did so much to help us wake up and see how busy we were, how active
Yeah.
we were, and when we were in the house, so bored in the house.
What do we do?
What we're gonna do? We're gonna sit around and eat with each other
Yeah.
and be at the table. And so we kind of got a glimpse of, hey, this is what this means. With the people that's most important in your life. So my hope is that as we come out of this slowly, that we don't lose that practice.
Well, and then being intentional with it, right? So doing it is the first thing. Like my family in April, when everything shut down, maybe it was March, can't remember, we had Christmas dinner. Like it's one of the first thing. Like that was my go-to. Like let's sit back down as a family.
You sent me a picture of that.
Yeah.
I'm like, only Mike Scott would put together a Christmas dinner in April with his family.
We went out turkey and everything. I mean, we did the whole thing. It was great. We didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, we were all kind of scared. I think it could have been worse, right? Way worse. Yeah.
For sure.
So, anyway, here we find ourselves. What are we? 7 months later, 8 months later from whenever all that happened.
Yeah.
March, April. So I think last week, or not this last Sunday, the week before that, we talked about how can we do this at home. Starts at home, but then it branches out, and I think we spend more time at our places of work, or working at least. So I pulled some statistics. I went to Gallup, does all these polls, and I read this Forbes article. The average full-time hourly employee works 44 hours a week. That's the average. The average salaried employee works 49 hours a week. And the average self-employed full-time person works almost 60 hours a week, right?
Wow.
So, and of course, then the national average is like 48, so 9 hours a day.
Yeah.
And so that number, whether you're going to an office or not, simply represents the amount of time that you're working. So even if it's from home and on Zoom, the average person spends 9 hours a day with people other than family.
Yeah.
And so that's where our focus is. And so how can we take this idea of altar table sacrifice and apply it to the workplace? And so I told a story about my workplace, right? And I talked about this person who, had hurt me, stabbed me in the back. And so I invited that backstabber to come meet with me today and do table talk. And so, so Brian, Allison's not feeling well, she's home. So you tell the story. So I said, Brian, would you come do this and fill in, be the guest, host tomorrow? And what did you say?
Okay, so Allison sent me the notes, and before I was
We have lots of little notes that we use to talk about.
So before I was able to listen to your message, which was great, by the way.
Thank you.
You can pay me later.
Yeah.
I got these notes, and so I read the first line, and so I thought last night, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to listen to it last night, but that's when I got the notes, so I thought, I'll put it into my brain, and then tomorrow morning, which is today, I did get to listen to it. But, so, the first line goes like this. Mike tells a story about being backstabbed at work during the sermon, which I read as, oh my gosh, did I backstab Mike in a sermon one day? Or there's, I know some other people that have preached, but is Allison even sick? Is this a big plot to get me on camera and just what's 60 Minutes or one of those news shows?
We're gonna work through it.
Oh my gosh!
This is therapy
This
today,
is
and so we
stressful.
gotta. So Brian, tell me, do you want to lay on the couch?
Oh yes.
Why we do this? Okay, no, it's
It's out of the shot.
no. The head part is you can lay down right here
Yeah.
if you wanted to. But that it's funny, but there's some truth in that though. We're still in the midst of COVID, and anxieties are high, and what happens to our brains when anxieties are high, right? The paranoia
We
creeps
go
in.
to ridiculous places.
We do.
Yeah.
And of course, we see a lot of that right now in our country. And I don't care what side of the political spectrum you fall on. There's just a lot of paranoia. There's a lot of just this craziness right now. So try to keep that in check if you can. Right. I believe one of the ways we do that is through building relationships at tables where we talk about things.
Yeah.
Where you could just ask me, Mike, are you setting me up? And I was like, of course I am. And that's how we work through stuff like that. But so at work, how do we do this? We spend more time, 9 hours a day on average, with people outside of our families. And so how can we take this idea of a table? All right, so if you're in a physical space right now, which I know probably half of you are, half of you maybe aren't, or maybe it's not quite that close, I don't know. But of course, if you're in a physical space, your desk at work is a table, right? The conference room is a table.
Yep.
And of course, then we have the digital table of Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And so I simply invited people to think differently about their time with their coworkers. Because I think we tend to think of them as competition or you have a boss who's, just a thorn in your side or whatever.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so...
And your last name is Bartlett?
Yeah. Amy is everybody's boss, right? Everybody knows it too. Sunday morning, actually, I don't know if Laura Boland's watching. She's I can't find Amy, so I'm just going to talk to you. And I was like, oh, okay, I feel really good about myself now. Anyway, it happens all the time. So, but how can we, I got a quick story about that. So when I've been a pastor, this is my 7th year. My first year I worked full-time and then pastor, we launched a campus in Raytown. And when I went and told my boss after I was a pastor for a year that I was going to be leaving and that I was going into ministry, right? I wasn't going to work for the competition or anything like that. I was going to ministry. My boss, who was one of those paying, all about
The bottom line.
yeah, and he stopped and he goes, I can see that. And he goes, I've even thought about that sometimes. And I'm like, what? It's like, really? Because you shouldn't be a pastor. And no, that's horrible. I should not say that. But those are the thoughts that crept into my head, right?
Yeah.
And so that event, of course, at the end, changed my lens of him, right? And there was another time, you heard that in the sermon, where a different boss.
The actual backstabbing story.
Yeah, the actual
The
backstabbing
one
story,
that actually happened.
Yeah.
Not me. Because
Right.
that never happened. Just to be clear.
Well, my boss was in the office, and he's like, and I'm going to say this now, I didn't say it on Sunday, but he's like, he pushes everything aside, and he's like, all right, listen, we'll go right now, let's go over and let's kick his ass, right? And so I thought, I was like, yeah, let's, it just made him human. I saw him, the table is a great revealer, I think. You see people, and of course that's all through relationships, and so your thoughts at the office. We office together sometimes. On Mondays we're together. On Wednesday mornings we're together. So
well, when you mentioned being an Enneagram 3 and the feeling like, okay, I'm not in competition with my coworkers.
Right.
The reason that I read the first line about, is this an elaborate ruse that you're setting me up because I backstabbed you in a sermon? That's me as an Enneagram 9 thinking, oh my gosh, I'm such a people pleaser. What if I've really hurt Mike? And and then why wouldn't we just talk about that? You know what I mean? I think that when I look at myself as a 9 with conflict.
Talk about what a 9 is real quick.
Yeah, so an Enneagram 9 is someone that, the Enneagram, if you're not familiar, is just kind of one of those personality surveys, helps you kind of figure out what you're like. And, I think that when we discover what we're like more and more, we kind of understand ourselves as an image of God. Who has God created Brian to be? Who's God created Michael to be? That sort of thing. And so the Enneagram helps you understand how do you deal with conflict, negative stuff, how do you react when you're stressed or when you're healthy, that sort of thing. And so it's not the end-all be-all, but it's been really helpful for me.
It's a descriptor, not a definer.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. And so part of what a 9 is someone who, when you have conflict, you want to run away. You want to sweep it under. And there's part of me that I do want to talk about things with people because I value relationships so much that I just want to get it out of the way so we can get over it and restore a harmonious relationship. And so that's why when you were talking about being a 3 in competition with coworkers, that's not necessarily something that resonated with me, but it did make me think, okay, well, with my coworkers, I do things that I kind of go, I don't know, I have to remember to go outside of my comfort zone to say, I disagree with you about this, because when I might say that, what my 9 personality is doing is, what if they don't like me, or what if they're mad, and this relationship is disharmonious.
Okay.
And so,
Yeah, because you're 9. And the 9 descriptor is peacemaker, right?
peacemaker, yes, yeah.
Well, today we're going to give you the opportunity to make peace, and I'm going to let you pull that knife out of my back while we're sitting here. And so, so all you who are watching today, tell us about your experience.
You're killing me.
That's for a 9. He's done with this, right? So I want to know, what is your experience? What is your experience with your coworkers? And if you have some descriptive language about yourself, do you see them as competitive, or are you the peacemaker, or are you an 8? An 8 is a
The challenger.
The challenger, right?
Yeah.
At the rise, I got some 8 in me, right? But the challenger at the rise up. A 7 is like
the joyful one, which I kind of resent that's
not your first.
descriptor. Like, the joyful one. Everyone wants to be joyful. My gosh, who wants
Right?
to be a challenger or a
Challengers want to be challengers. That's
true. I guess. Yeah, you got me there. So, but yeah. So, what kind of how do you think you fit with your coworkers? And I've thought about that too. Once we had kids, I remember being home and holding my firstborn Libby and just thinking, I don't see her as much as the daycare workers. I don't see her as much as I see people that I work with. And that was something that I kind of had to figure out. Okay, well, this is what it has. This is kind of what life is like.
Right.
But seeing my coworkers as people that I can invest in as well, which is something that you brought up in your message.
Well, we often see work as a way to get a paycheck. Or we see work, I feel like there's a movement right now of CEOs and people who lead organizations to say a work and the workplace environment isn't about the bottom dollar. I love capitalism, but capitalism also has a few negative effects, because capitalism's premise is about profit, right?
Yeah.
And so we can still be capitalist in nature and do new things and try new things and pioneer and engineer and all the great things, but when profits are the number one thing. There's a lot of companies. I listened to a podcast this week with Rob Bell, and he had this guy named Don Golden on. And Don Golden does like consulting and stuff like that. And he says when organizations, when their mission and their purpose, when it's not profit driven, because profit should be a byproduct of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? You should provide a good product and good customer service. And when you do all those things, then profit is a result of that. Instead of we want to drive profit by cutting jobs, and being as strict and as frugal as possible. Now, those things you still need to run an efficient organization. But when your priorities are, we're going to take care of our employees because our employees take care of our customers, we're going to provide a good product and service, that's a different way of thinking, because for years, capitalism is built on the idea that we make profits. And profit comes first, and so
that's a great point. I think that, pardon me, that's why your namesake was such a popular boss in The Office. There were so many awkward moments that, I love that show, and when I would watch and see those moments, just be like, oh, I would never want to work there. But what endeared that character of Michael Scott to people was how much he really did value the people he worked with, and he did invest in them. Even though, how long ago did that come out? 15 years ago?
Oh yeah, because it's been off the air for like 10, right?
Yeah, and then churned through Netflix by the bazillions of, millennials and people that weren't old enough to understand. But
and then there's like the competition between Steve Carell and the original Michael Scott, because it's a British show, right?
Yes.
What's his name? The comedian.
Ricky Gervais.
Ricky Gervais.
Yes.
There's this amazing. If you haven't Googled those two, it's hilarious. But sorry. Go ahead.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
But, so it's about a paper company,
Mm-hmm.
and print has been dead for a long time. Paper, there was even 15 years ago a huge movement to be more and more electronic.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we still use paper, obviously, but it was him trying to grasp onto being relevant still, and not only for the profit for Dunder Mifflin, but for Jim and Pam and Dwight and all of those characters that we love, because he loved them.
Right.
I think that's what the heart of the show really was about, and so I resonate with that.
Well, Have you seen Ted Lasso yet
No,
on Apple TV?
no, is it good?
Brene Brown talks about it, and so last Saturday afternoon, or maybe Saturday before last, we were at a soccer tournament, volleyball tournament, and we're home in the afternoon, and Brene Brown had mentioned it, so we turned it on, and I was like, you know me, I don't watch a whole lot of TV, so I'm glued to it. And similar premise, like, yeah, so, you know, do we get paid from Apple?
I don't.
If not, we should.
Listen,
Or Netflix, Apple,
like let's see
Netflix,
some
you're watching.
residuals, okay, people.
We could use a check.
Yes.
Amy, is anybody saying anything? Are you guys talking to Amy? She's on any stories? Any
Well, when you asked their Enneagram,
right?
Danielle said with her current coworkers who are ages 4 and 6, she's definitely the peacemaker. Ashley said she can't hide from her coworkers because she lives with them. Again, they are young children.
Right.
And they're just talking about how they would handle situations at work. Danielle's talking about when she was in a workplace.
Danielle was a nurse
Right.
before, yeah.
And then they're saying that they're Office fans. Yeah.
They're what?
Office fans.
Oh yeah.
Gosh, who's not? People without souls.
That's
Did I alienate like 500 people right now?
yeah. I need to have you on like once every 6 weeks or so, just the banter back and forth, or have you on with Allison.
There you go.
And so, what time? Oh, we got 10 minutes, so we're good. Okay, so I mentioned a few examples of things that I did in the office, because some of this is we talk about office morale.
Yeah.
And office morale is one of those. It's an intangible. It's the elephant in the room. You know, it's a thing, and often people think that it's only top down. And what I would say is it's also can be grassroots and can be bottom up, and that, you know, we can all make a difference, and it's not just dependent on I have a bad boss, so I'm going to let this be like that.
Right.
And so, I don't know. I want to know what y'all's ideas are for your offices or workplace, or maybe places you used to work. We started this thing called Taste Test Tuesdays, and it was all based around food, because
I wanted to work there.
Yeah.
You're describing it, I'm like, I want the crack dip.
essential-
I've actually had it.
You have
You
the correct
brought
dip.
it to one of
Yeah.
our Woods Chapel things, and
Yeah.
yes.
It has like 24 ingredients, including beer. I mean, it's just it's good stuff,
Sounds
right?
good.
Yeah, it's like a dark beer, right? Do that flavor,
Yeah.
and so Amy knows, because I still try to model this. I try to bring in food. I try to cook for staff every now and then, and of course with the preschool, we got too big, and I used to bring stuff in and it'd all be gone, or everybody already had eaten.
Yeah.
Right, they all brought their lunch, then nobody ate it, then I got my feelings
And
hurt.
then you got all these little kids that are like, crack dip, I want some crack dip. Going home telling their parents.
Just a white smudge, and they're up for like, what is this crap? Bachelor says it's crap. No, I'm just
So I recently switched roles with Woods Chapel, and I was working with our student ministry, family ministry, and now I'm our digital and connections pastor at the Lee Summit campus. So I switched offices. I was up on our second floor. I went to our downstairs in the main offices, and I thought, I want to do something that kind of is going to be small, but like maybe can get some momentum. And so last Christmas, someone gave me a dad joke of the day daily calendar.
Yes.
And so what I do is I put every day I put a magnet on it and
stay on your side.
Yeah, sorry. Sanitizer. I don't think I put them in my mouth and my eyes. Who knows? Anyway, so I put a dad joke of the day. I post it and I put funny or not, and then I tally the votes. And
That's awesome.
the first couple of weeks, I would go around and I'd be like, "Hey, have you voted today?" And they're like, "It's not November." And I'm like, "No, the dad joke of the day. Just go and vote." Yeah. And so Jacob Stansberry, who works at the Lee Summit campus, he loves this, and so he's like, "Hey, if you've not voted," he'll come down into the office and just announce with his big booming voice, "You've not voted. You need to vote." And so it's getting
That
traction.
sounds like Jacob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's getting traction, but it's funny. And when the jokes are good, we laugh, and when the jokes are bad, I'm like, I didn't write it. So
Well, and all leading to that and everything, I also know you're reading a new book right now. You want to tell us about that? No, not that one. Yeah, that one.
How to be an racist.
No. You're reading a new book you told us about when you first got here.
Oh my gosh. I have book ADD. I'm sorry, folks.
Well,
This is-
as pastors, we read a lot of. I mean, I'm probably into like 4 different books right now, right?
Yeah.
And I finished several a week at this point. So.
exactly. So yeah, I'm reading a book on anti-gravity, and it's
And it's interesting because I love gravity. I'm reading one on particle physics right now. So I'm sorry, keep going. Keep
that's
going.
cool. Yeah, so this is about anti-gravity, which kind of blows my mind. Like, what's anti-gravity?
Yeah.
It's impossible to put down.
Yeah. That was a great setup. It was almost perfect, except you blew it. I mean, how to be an anti? No, not that one, bro. Not a real book.
We did just launch a book study on the book How to Be an Anti-Racist.
Yeah,
And
my
so-
Dr. Kendi, right?
Yes, yeah, Ibram Kendi, which you've mentioned in some
Mhm.
table talks and
Yes.
that sort of thing. So that's why I was like, wait, we didn't talk about that.
This is part of the.
I forgot.
So Chuck said he's late to work every day because his kids make him wait for 99.7's dad jokes at 7:30.
Yeah.
I didn't know they did that.
Well, Chuck, I hope your boss understands. I mean, he's got to understand the bottom line as a dad. You know, you got to
Yeah.
connect with your kids.
Crucial.
Yeah.
You and I have your oldest and my youngest are good friends, and
Yes.
so they're both in 6th grade, right?
Yep.
Which is we're just talking about that's a huge transition change. And one of the things that I didn't mention Sunday that I should have because we had a lot of kids in the room or college students in the room here. Like half of our band are also in college and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So more than half at this point. Anyway, so I'm like at school, right? And so one of the things that my kids are having a hard time with is they can't sit with their friends and eat, or it's a small number.
Yep.
And if you have the school lunch, you have like 3 minutes to eat. And so actually, you and I, on different schedules, sometimes same schedules, used to go up to Delta Woods.
Yeah.
And I just take pizzas and pop. You do the same thing. We'd run into each other. Or we'd leave a pizza for the staff. And
Yeah.
for being honest, to my core, I miss that.
Yes.
Like I miss all the kids, being able to do that. And I'm like, I cannot wait to be able to do that again.
Yeah, I know.
And
So I would have an initial every time. I'd have an initial Brian in 6th grade moment where I'd be walking in with my tray. Where am I going to be able to sit? Are they going to be excited to see me? But instead, I've got my big, huge lunch bag that I got last Christmas or 2 Christmases ago. I mean, this thing is huge. So
It
it's
is
not always
massive.
full unless I got a lot of Tupperware. Anyway, I do miss that too. I miss sitting around and just talking and laughing with people without having to be masked up or
well, and to all the students out there, whether you're in high school, grade school,
Yeah.
junior high, or college, that table is important. And I would say to the relationships with kids, that table, just when I would go there, all the kids, and then all these kids still come over and hang out, and I still see them all the
Yeah.
time. They call me Father Scott, and so like they always talk about that. Remember when we used to, and
Yeah.
so I know that it's impactful and that we can make a difference regardless of where you're at, school, office, home, Zoom. That table, that intentional time with people, with intentional questions, right? Don't be weird about it, right? John Wesley, who's like how are we doing on time? We got time. John Wesley, who was really the founder of Methodism, and we're Methodists, even though I don't, we don't necessarily fly that flag, or I don't believe in tribalism and all that.
Is there a
necessarily.
flag?
Is there a Methodist flag? I don't know. That was metaphoric. What's the metaphor?
it's like something?
Yeah, it's
No.
for cows. And so, that was a dad joke. I tried to
It
get one.
was.
Yeah.
You got me.
And so, having all these, I have no idea what I was talking about before I went into that.
John Wesley.
Oh, Wesley. Yeah, so Wesley, he had these questions when you're meeting, and we consider this maybe a small group. And he would have them say something like, how's it with your soul, right? Which I don't know if that's a bad question or not. Or where have you seen God this week? And every time I ask that question to somebody, they're like, oh, I haven't seen God. Like they're wanting some magic Disney.
Yes.
They want to see a miracle happen, right? Those are few and far between. And I'm like, oh, God is in all the good stuff, right? He's in the average, everyday, the mundane. He's in the sunrise, right?
Yeah.
He's in nature. He's when your kids want you to stay home to listen to the dad joke on 99.7, right?
Yeah.
And there's God in that. And so I think we have to remember that being intentional. Don't ask people where they've seen God. That's weird. But I mean, if you have a Christian group of friends, but don't do that at your office. They're probably like, what is this person
Yes.
doing? And so we gave everybody a tool. We have these little placemats, with questions on them. Like, if you had to choose a new name, what would you pick? Who was your favorite school teacher, right? And if you want this, by the way, what's the number, Amy? You can text. There's a number.
816-608-6666. 6270. I'll put it in the comments.
Yeah, put it in the comments. And if you want this, if you're new, maybe you don't go to a church. These are faith-based talks, but these are tangible things where we intentionally, we weren't like, who is Jesus to you? Right? And those are important things to know if you're a person of faith, but these are conversations. What is your most special belonging? Whose autograph would you like to have and why, right? It starts to tell you about the nature and the essence of a person. You can actually get to know them.
Yeah.
And then the goal of this is to what? To see people's...
It's to connect with other people. Yeah. And I think that's what I tell my daughter, the 6th grader. She has an opportunity to sit at a table, and again, like you mentioned, they're not able to sit with their friends they're assigned.
Yeah.
And she's making friends with those girls that she's able to sit with. And when we look at a table as an opportunity, and it doesn't have to be such a big, heavy moment like,
Right.
where did you see God? Or who is Jesus to you? It doesn't have to be. It can lead to that, certainly.
Right.
But it can be, what name would you want to give yourself if you could rename yourself? Or who is your favorite?
Isn't that a great question?
It is a great
I've never thought of that. Like, what would I... Because I am part narcissist. I'm a quarter narcissist on my dad's side. And so... I love the name Michael. I don't know. I've always loved it. But I'm like, I don't know what I would be. I don't know.
I would add to mine. It would just put the Brian Swanson. Because, I Googled myself the other day.
Oh no.
Just see, like, is there a famous Brian Swanson?
Right.
This is what I found. There was a hockey player. He's now retired. There is a biology professor, I believe. And then I thought, oh my gosh, wow. I know it might be common. I don't know. It's not a Michael Scott. You have your
Yeah,
own.
if I Google myself, all I get is that's what she said jokes.
Right. You have your own. There's a Facebook support group for people.
Oh,
named Michael
I told you
Scott.
about this? Yeah,
Yes,
there
yes.
is. It's amazing.
So Brian Swanson, there's not a support group for that, but it made me think they don't sign my name the way they should.
How dare they?
I know.
You worked hard on that.
That's my example. I put the Brian Swanson. So anyway,
I love it.
tell us what names you would want to be called. So
Yeah, let us know. Answers, if you have these questions, let's start conversations. This digital format is a table. And so we want to use it like that. I know we're probably at time already. But Amy, any comments?
Well, Chuck is telling dad jokes.
Yes.
Chuck for the
Yes,
win.
Chuck for the win.
First he said,
Love
did
it.
you hear the news about the shovel?
Mhm.
It's groundbreaking. But that's nothing compared to the broom. It's really sweeping the nation.
Yes.
I
yes.
love it. I
That's
love it.
perfect. Chuck, thank you.
Well, answer the questions. I am going to invite you to join us on Sunday again. We're going to be talking about how do we use the table in our community. And so we started with home, we branched out to the workplace, and then in the community, right? So what's your circle of influence, your friends, and how do we use that? What are ways we can do? And then we're actually going to give you a tangible opportunity to participate in that. So join us this Sunday, and I know if you're a Lee Summit person, Brian, you're preaching this week, right?
I am, yep.
Yeah. Tune in to see Brian this week. Thanks for joining us, and
Thanks for having me, Mike.
well,
This was
we'll have
awesome.
you back sometime.
I was like, I knew what to expect because I watched you and Allison, but
Yeah.
this was fun. So thanks, Amy. Thanks, Mike.
To close with, if
Allison.
you want to grab that knife. No.
And thank you, Allison, for not
Being
feeling
sick?
well.
Oh. All right, peace. Y'all take care.
Just kidding.